Coming up on this episode of Nintendo Cartridge Society, what kind of gamer were you this year? It's dangerous to go alone, so the Nintendo Cartridge Society goes with you. Welcome to Nintendo Cartridge Society. My name is Patrick Ellers, and I am joined, as I am always joined, by my co-host, Mark Mitchell. We've got a good show for you today. We are going to be talking about the news from the week, including the future of the Kirby and F-Zero franchises. And then on Thursday, we're going to be talking about Donkey Kong Country 3, Dixie Kong's Double Trouble. But in the meantime, Mark, how you doing?
Patrick, I'm doing so good because we're getting to record this show again.
Yeah, look, from the listener side, we've been like light on episodes, seamless. Except for the two seams of we only put out one episode the last 2 weeks. But Mark and I haven't actually recorded these in kind of a while, so it is. Look, we're juiced, we're jacked, we're excited.
We've got the Jock Jam CD ready to go.
We get knocked down, but we get up again, and they're never gonna keep us down. That would be on Jock Jams, right?
I guarantee it was. I'm sure that I did like a run in 8th grade to that song.
Yeah, wearing like the like jersey that's on over the shirt that you wore to gym class, right? So that they can tell like who's wearing the jerseys and who's not.
Yeah, absolutely.
Everyone had to be sorted. It's all very... Speaking of none of that, my copy of Sonic Forces, would you like to borrow it? You can be part of the program where that is a feature of it. All you got to do is email us at Nintendo Cartridge Society at gmail.com and give us a mailing address so I can send you my copy of Sonic Forces. Uh-oh.
Could it be that you might also get a copy of Untitled Goose Game?
That is the uh-oh. And I don't know if it's also, you're not going to get Sonic Forces and Untitled Goose Game. You'll get one or the other. You do not get to decide which.
That would really be an uh-oh. Like, that would be a true oops all berries situation.
That's true. And look, the program is too perfect to encounter berries of any kind. If there are berries in the game when you open it up, something has gone terribly wrong. And as we know, there's nothing wrong with the program. It's perfect. So I don't know what you're experiencing.
That's right. So get on the list to borrow Patrick's copy of Sonic Forces or Untitled Goose Game. Again, can't stress it enough. You don't get to choose.
No, absolutely no decisions get to be made there. Mark, we got to make some decisions about what we've been playing. Let's get into this segment because it's going to be a little bit different than usual. Let's get into what we've been playing. Because the Donkey Kong Country 3 is on the Super NES Switch Online, we have, in fact, been playing it, preparing for Thursday's episode. If you have not played DKC 3, Dixie Kong's Double Trouble in the past, you now have an opportunity to. It's just there on your Switch if you subscribe to the online. And if it is a game that you have heard maligned in the past, I would urge you to at least give it a shot. So you have a frame of reference for what we are talking about on Thursday. I suspect we're going to have a less negative conversation than other people might anticipate.
Yeah, I think you're right. And this is Patrick and I's first time playing through this game. So it's been a lot of fun, and I'm excited to talk about it on Thursday in more detail.
Absolutely. Mark, I see that you also wrote down here that you have been playing Crash Team Racing Nitro Fueled, as it was part of the another like free game that you could try for a little less than a week. Again, if you are subscribed to Nintendo Switch Online, I believe the promotion ends today as we release this episode. But how's your experience with that?
Yeah, I didn't end up playing that much of it because I don't know. Did you load it up at all?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
I found the loading times between levels and between like having doing anything to be way too long. So I ended up just doing a couple of tracks, and I it is well documented on this show that I really only have room in my heart for one kart racer, and it's not Hello Kitty Cruisers. It's Mario Kart. And so everything fairly or unfairly, mostly unfairly, I compare to like Mario Kart, and it's difficult for anything else to win because like Mario Kart's what I'm used to. And so I don't even know anything else I would say about this. I don't know Crash Bandicoot. Like the characters don't mean anything to me. I was racing as like the buff Crash Bandicoot type character. But really like I think I would have played more if the load times weren't so bad, but they were, and so it was just kind of like not worth it.
And it's not just the load times either. It's the game has a lot of sort of dressing and story, like, and I don't know if there's a way around this in like a modern EA game, but there's like a 42-page like user agreement
crazy.
that you have to
Activision.
actually page through.
In EA's defense, it's an Activision game. Yeah,
you're right. It's just atrocious, and you have to like actually page through it twice, or like there must be two separate agreements, but you wouldn't know because you're not reading them.
Yeah,
it's 42 pages long, and then there's like a story set up to like, here's why everyone's racing, and it's like, I don't care. Like, what are we talking about? But yeah, I found the actual gameplay experience to be very similar to yours, or I think, where I just wanted it to play like Mario Kart, and the fact that it didn't, I was like, this is so close to what I want, but like the buttons are just like a little bit different, and the drifting is a little bit different, and
I could not for the life of me figure out drifting. Like when the tracks are loading, that has like the tips, and one of the tips is like how to drift, and I feel like the controls, like theoretically the drifting is very similar to Mario Kart, but I could not trigger drifting. Like I could not trigger boost for the life of me.
Yeah. So I mean, that's also my experience. And then I tried to like go into the pause menu to like pull up options or see like what all the buttons did, and like I couldn't find that, and it was just like, all right, I don't know. Again, maybe it's me, maybe it's my failing. But like, I don't know. I got no room in my heart for this game.
Yeah, same.
And then I guess goes without saying, but I'm saying it anyway. I continue to play Hades. I'm still addicted to it. I love it, and will I ever stop? No, I will not. Mark, but we thought we would do this fun thing. We would go through our Nintendo Switch year in review, the email that Nintendo sends out at the end of every year to shame you, celebrate you for all of the gaming that you have done on your Nintendo Switch during the year. Mark, were you excited to get this email? I know I saw a lot of people like sharing it on like Twitter and stuff, and sort of like talking about it. But I sort of held mine back. I was like, not knowing that we were going to do it here, but I was just sort of like, this is my private information about my playtime. It's for me and me only.
They did this last year as well, and I think first, like, I am excited by it because it's something that we can lord over our European listeners, who I do not believe receive this email. I think it's only something that like Nintendo of America sends out.
Interesting.
But I could be wrong about that. God save the Queen.
Nintendo Cartridge Society at gmail.com.
At gmail.com. But no, I forgot about this. I remember getting it last year, and was last year the first time they did it? It was the first time I remember getting it.
Yeah, maybe.
And so but I wasn't expecting to get one this year because I forgot about it. And so it was fun to receive it. Also, like some of the stats, I'm like, can this possibly be right? And I'm not sure that it can be.
Right. Yes, this is where I land too, is that there's some of this that I am suspicious of, I don't think is 100% accurate. But we'll talk about it as we go. So the very first thing that it serves up to you is it tells you what kind of player you were this year. And for me, it says that I am a core gamer.
I also am a core gamer. Which
hosts of this podcast,
which they describe as a skilled, experienced gamer who is always up for a challenge.
I would say I am frequently not up for a challenge. Do you know how much Animal Crossing I played this year?
I play basically every game on easy mode if it's available to me. And I wonder what the other what some of the other alternatives were. I know I saw like something like Nintendo Fanatic or something like that, where it's like
Oh.
you played like a bunch of like Nintendo first party games. So yeah, question mark on this one for sure.
All right. So then we move into the total hours played and the number of games played. So I will share mine first. I played a total of 711 hours
Whoa.
this year, which is not actually that much more than 2019, where I had 610 hours. So I guess it's 100 more hours. But just like knowing what I know about how much Animal Crossing I played, and how much Hades I played, I'm floored that it is not more than 100 hours more than last year.
Wow. So I played nothing close to that. I paid 270 hours in 2020, which is like 100 hours more than I played in 2019, which was 166 hours.
Wow, wow. Why have I played so much? It's most of it at Tetris 99. It's got to be Tetris 99.
Well, I'm curious to know how many games like did you play or at least sample? Because for me, it says that I played 38 games in 2020, and I think like a lot of that must be like games that I played for maybe an hour, couple hours, but didn't like really dive into. Which is it's about the same amount that I played in 2019, like a little bit more.
So I have quite a few games. It says 54 games, and that in 2019 I played 37 games. And so like playing a game must just be starting it up,
That's my
right?
guess. Yeah.
Okay. Like so that sort of makes sense that just like by sheer like just having more games on the Switch, that like I just have more games to open up at some point and play for a little bit and then not touch again. So that's interesting. Your most played games by hours. Mark, why don't we do yours first?
Yeah, probably not a ton of surprise based on what I've talked about on this show in 2020, but it's Animal Crossing New Horizons, The Outer Worlds, the SNES Online, Paper Mario the Origami King, and then Super Mario 3D All Stars was my 2020.
So my most played games by hours are as follows: Animal Crossing New Horizons, Hades, Tetris 99, Murder by Numbers is
Wow.
up here. Yeah. Which did that come out this year? Did that come out
It
in
did, yeah.
2020?
It came out in like right maybe like March or April.
That makes sense. Then that I would have just been slowly solving those puzzles. And then my fifth one on here is the Super NES Switch Online. So you and I both playing a bunch of those games for this show, I'm sure contributed to that. And then by comparison, in 2019, I spent the most time playing Tetris 99, Super Mario Maker 2, Fire Emblem 3 Houses, Dragon Quest 11S, Echoes of an Elusive Age Definitive Edition, and Super Smash Bros. Ultimate.
In 2019, for me, it was Fire Emblem 3 Houses, Resident Evil 4, Tetris 99, Super Mario Maker 2, and then Link's Awakening.
Very good. Okay, then your most active day by hours.
I don't know. Mine is March 28th, which I guess makes sense for like the height of Animal Crossing mania.
Mine is Thursday, February 13th. What is it? What was I doing on Thursday, February 13th? Thursday.
Living in blissful ignorance. Yeah.
And that's the thing that like confuses me about like then there's like a bar graph that kind of breaks down your most active your monthly activity in hours. And my highest one is January.
Oh, interesting.
I played my Switch most in January.
Mine is by a significant amount. Mine is in April, but it's not like that. It's fairly evenly distributed over the year.
I mean, April is my second highest after January. In January, I played 92 hours of games on my Switch.
Wow.
What was I playing? What was I playing in January?
I'm trying to think.
It must be Murder by Numbers.
Yeah. And then there's a couple of ones like at the bottom, like I played they say approximately 6 games that had Super Mario in it.
Me too.
And then I think that's pretty much it.
Yeah, then they say like, what's next? Here are other games you might want to play, which is not a good recommendation system. It recommends Pokemon Shield to me. It should know that I sort of played Pokemon Sword and stopped halfway through. So like, I think they should know that I gave it a shot and
I also have a
don't wanna
Pokemon
play
game
it.
on. I have Let's Go Pikachu, which of course I played
Mm.
Let's Go Eevee, which so yeah, the algorithm. I wouldn't say 100% successful, but I'm not going to look a gift newsletter at the mouth, especially after I said that like Europeans, as far as I know, do not receive this.
All right, Mark, that's what we were playing this week and all last year. Let's get into the new releases and what we might be playing next week.
So not much is coming out this
Yes.
week. Early January. There's not a single game on this list that I want to call out, but I see you added something about the Lego Mario sets, so maybe we can talk about that.
Yeah, well, and this is one of those things that like we maybe don't need to continue to call out going into the future, just because like the Super Mario Lego sets are something that Nintendo is putting out. It doesn't really hit like neither of us are going to buy any of these Lego Mario sets. But so maybe just for the last time here, let's shout them out. The new sets are there's a Master Your Adventure. Yes, I'll start over. Master Your Adventure Maker set, a Chain Chomp Jungle Encounter, Piranha Plant Puzzling Challenge, and Wiggler's Poison Swamp. Those are all expansion sets. And then there are power-up packs that include the Penguin Super Mario and the Tanuki Mario power-up. Weird choices. The Penguin power-up? I guess because it's cute, because he wears a little penguin suit?
Yeah. I feel like, did we see some of these in the Mario Direct, in the Mario 35 Direct back from like August? I can't remember
I don't know.
either. Well, I don't want to shirk my duties entirely. There's 7 titles that are in this list of new releases, so I'll just run through them real quick.
Okay.
On January 6th, Wednesday, we're getting Charge Kid, Choice That Matters. Charge Kid, one game. Another game, Choice That Matters, and Their Souls Were Eaten. On Thursday, January 7th, we're getting Iris Fall, Sense, a cyberpunk ghost story, Werewolf the Apocalypse, Heart of the Forest. That's all one game. And then Star Dash. And then on Friday, January 8th, getting Super Moose. And those are the new releases.
Super Moose sounds good.
Super Moose does sound good. And delicious.
All right. Oh, you like a Super Moose that you eat.
Yes, exactly.
All right, so that's what's coming out this week. Mark, let's close this out. Are we rusty? Do we feel rusty to you? And now it's time for a regular segment on our show. It's time for 433. In 1952, American composer John Cage wrote a piece called 433, wherein a performer or group of performers didn't play their instruments for 4 minutes and 33 seconds. For the purposes of this show, our instruments are talking about Nintendo. So, for the duration of one performance, 433, Mark and I will talk about something not at all Nintendo related, thus fulfilling the contract of the piece. Mark, you've brought us this wonderful topic. We are talking about the Lord of the Rings movies. Why are we talking about this?
I watched the theatrical cut of all 3 movies. I watched over our little like hiatus here, and I know that you had watched the extended editions with Sarah not that long ago.
Yes, sometime I believe it was during the pandemic. It might have been before. Who even remembers now? But yeah, when you told me this before we started rolling, I called you a coward for watching the theatrical versions. But I understand that's probably all you had access to. Do you normally, like, when you had been watching them previously, which versions were you watching?
So I haven't watched them in 8 years, at least, like since moving to LA, and the watching them again was so much fun. It totally like reignited my love for them. Previous to this, the last time I watched them, it was the expanded versions.
Yeah.
But that had been like even like a few years before. So it has probably been like a decade since I watched any version of these movies. And man, they are so good.
See, no, I wonder if I need to go back and rewatch them, rewatch the theatrical cuts, because in watching the extended editions, I was like, oh yeah, these are long, these are bloated, these get boring, and some of the more like self-indulgent Peter Jackson-y things feel worse, I think, in the extended edition than in the theatrical cuts.
So I think, I held for, and I still hold, that Fellowship of the Ring is the best movie. And then, like,
Absolutely.
basically, like, as it goes on, they get, like, a little worse. But this time I was a lot more forgiving of it because, like, Fellowship is, of course, going to be the tightest movie because it has the tightest narrative, it has the fewest characters, like, it's so
Yeah.
clear. And then, like, you're getting to the third movie, and like you're introducing like the men of the mountain, and you're like, what, they're dead, what's going on? And there's like so much exposition that has to be like put in there to like get audiences up to speed as quickly as possible. But I think like the one thing I really love about these movies that I really appreciated this time was like how hopeful they are. Like, like it's about characters who love each
Yeah.
other and like love, just like want to do good, and that's really nice. And then the other thing that's so fun is that, and uh as I was watching them, I would also like watch some of the behind the scenes features from the movies, and they obviously were very difficult to make, but everybody seemed like it seemed like a big like family, and I feel like that
Yeah.
shows like on screen.
Yeah, I agree with that, and especially shows on screen in Fellowship, right? Because they're like all those actors and characters are together through the majority of that movie. Um, yeah, that is nice, and like that Sam speech at the end of Two Towers. There's some good in this world, and it's worth fighting for, Mr. Frodo.
Hmm.
Like all that stuff is very nice and heartwarming. One of the things that struck me on my last viewing was uh, um sort of the definitely like way too late in life realization that like these movies aren't just like standard blockbuster fare. Like for whatever reason, when I was watching them when I was younger, I was just like, yep, this is what movies look like, this is the language of cinema. But they're so specifically Peter Jackson movies. Like he shoots in ways that like no one else does. And he's got this like schlocky horror movie aesthetic that he's applying to this like high fantasy um in ways that like are maybe kind of ridiculous but also like just sort of cool in how confidently he executes them.
Yeah, it's endearing.
Yes.
Because I feel like the movies, for as like large as they loomed at the time, like were kind of like a scrappy undertaking. And so it has
Hmm.
I feel like the movies have like an underdog energy that like is really like, for whatever reason, and maybe it's colored again by my like appreciation of the behind the scenes stuff, but I feel like it comes through in the movies themselves.
I can't believe that was timed as perfectly as it was. We were accompanied today by Jim Carrey, Judd Apatow, Spike Jones, and Chris Smith. All
Ooh.
right, Mark. Yeah, it's a stacked cast for 433. All right, Mark, let's get into the news.
Patrick, did you own a DSi, a Nintendo DSi?
One of the few pieces of Nintendo hardware that I did not own. No.
Yeah, I was like during the DS era, I bought so many Nintendo DSs. I think I bought like 5 or 6 all told.
Yeah.
And so I definitely owned a Nintendo DSi. One of the big selling points of the DSi was it had the DSi shop, which featured like DSiWare, which were exclusive downloadable games that were only available on the DSi. But what I don't remember if I purchased many. I think I did like dabble with it a little bit because at the time, Nintendo having this like online store on a handheld that you could download
Unheard of.
originals
Yeah.
like felt really novel. And so I think I dabbled with it, but I didn't realize that DSiWare games were still available on the 3DS eShop. That they like the games, like I think all of them, like or most of them, like
Wow.
carried over and were available. Um, but maybe emphasis on were, because a few days ago, Twitter user at Come Out Punching noted that DSiWare games released before mid-May 2011 have been deactivated on the 3DS eShop. So they were available. You could get these DSiWare games, but then now you aren't. No one knows why. It appears to only be in the US, and like that they're still available in Europe and Japan. So maybe it's a glitch. Maybe this is a nothing story. But also, I just didn't know the DSiWare games were available on the 3DS at all. So I wanted to bring that novel fact up anyways.
Let me ask you this, and I don't mean to put you on the spot, but do you remember any of the DSiWare games that like you played or like had a good time with,
No,
or were
so
worth
like
any time
yeah,
to spend on them?
I never downloaded like I know like there was a Shantae game
Mhm.
like the of Pirate's Curse fame that was exclusive to it, but like I never downloaded anything like that. Do you remember there was like a Capcom like kind of like failed Western IP that came out for like during the PlayStation 3 era, and it was like kind of like Rocketeer almost, like the guy had like a jetpack. I want to say it was like called like Dark Void or something really generic like that. But
Oh, sure. Okay, yeah.
my memory is that there was like a DSiWare exclusive like downloadable side-scrolling thing, and I think I downloaded that and probably like a couple of puzzle games like Sudoku. But I think that was mostly it. Like I definitely did not buy a lot of DSiWare games.
Hmm. That's a whole corner of like Nintendo's output that I don't really know much about. I just kind of taking a look here at Nintendo DSi or DSiWare games. There was a Dr. Mario game, Dr. Mario Express.
Huh.
That's one. But yeah, it doesn't really look like that was something that Nintendo themselves uh, put out too many games on that platform.
And this must have been their second storefront because the Switch eShop was available at launch, so that would have been 2006. But
The Wii eShop.
oh,
But
sorry,
yeah.
yeah, the Wii eShop. But so yeah, so this may be a news story, this may not be a news story, but what a time for us to celebrate the discussion of DSiWare and remember that it was a thing because I had totally forgotten about it.
I mean, it seems like we are just barely remembering it, and
that seems typical for us.
no, look. I want to get into it now, but maybe now isn't. I want to get into it now that we're talking about it. I want to get into it at some point.
Yeah.
So hopefully that they are not just gone from the platform, because now that I'm looking at it, there's some Clubhouse games in here. There's some Brain Age games, some Art Academy. Look, this seems like something that we need to dig into at a more sort of microscopic, detail-oriented level. And hopefully they're not all gone. We will report back on this in the future.
Yes. Finally, an opportunity for us to it's like another like Billy Mitchell saga where we're able to follow
Yes.
for a long time. Hopefully, fingers crossed.
There's a bunch of Game & Watch games in here.
Huh. Speaking of findings from Twitter users, at Hey I'm Heroic discovered that NPCs in The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild are based on an advanced version of the Mii format that's known as Yumis. There are apparently differences in what like the Yumi support. Like you can't put moles on the characters any longer, or there are certain hairstyles that aren't supported. So sorry to those who want to recreate Matt Damon circa Good Will Hunting when he still had a bunch of moles that we all seem to forget about, but Matt Damon used to be a really moly person. But they also found that basically any Mii can be imported into Breath of the Wild, but it's like an involved process. But there's like screenshots of it. It's actually really like a clever use of the technology.
That's so interesting, and I wonder why they would do that. Like, I wonder if that's present in like other Nintendo games, and we're just like, mostly blind to it. But like it's cool. Like, if they already have a face maker, like, yeah, why not why not everything just be in that same face making engine?
Yeah, totally. And but you're right. Like, I wonder if like other Nintendo games have like reused that same like base. Um, but yeah, to me, it just seems like a really creative way to like use Mii's. Mii's continue to live, not just buried in like a Switch menu somewhere.
Yeah, it's funny to get this information now, because I feel like we are so far removed from like the Mii's really meaning anything,
Mm-hmm.
or like on my original Wii, there are so many Mii's of because I was still living on campus when that thing came out, so like it had like all of my friends had Mii's on it. My friends, parents had Mii's on it, and so like, it was like a fully populated world that was like everyone I knew. Whereas like, on my Switch now, there's one me because you have to make one, and like that's it.
Yeah. I actually do you even have to make one, or would
Maybe
you?
not. Yeah,
Yeah,
maybe you
I don't
don't.
think you have to. I think like um man, I can't even remember the last time. I guess Smash Brothers Ultimate was when I used a Mii in a game cuz you
Yeah.
yeah. F-Zero GX producer Toshihiro Nagoshi, now known for mostly for the Yakuza series, has expressed interest in returning to the F-Zero franchise if Nintendo were to approach him about it. In an interview with Red Bull France, of all things, Nagoshi said, quote, putting aside the odds of it happening, I must admit I have a lot of affection for F-Zero GX. If the opportunity were to present itself, I wouldn't mind. And in that case, I'd like to make it a challenging game. I believe that if Nintendo just wants a racing game that is fun and accessible, they already have Mario Kart for that purpose.
An interesting quote if it doesn't really mean that much because like he like double hedges his bets here by being like the odds of it happening aren't great, and if the opportunity were to present itself, I wouldn't mind.
These are my favorite types of quotes. I feel like the same thing
Yes.
happens with like superhero casting all the time where like somebody, like asks somebody like, "Hey, do you want to play I'm blanking on a like Cyclops?" And they're like, "Sure, if it came up, yeah, I'd totally do that." And it gets plastered on like news sites everywhere.
Right. I feel like every other day I'm reading like Charlie Cox said he'd love to play Daredevil in a new
Yeah.
Spider-Man movie. It's like, well, yeah, I mean, yeah. Yeah, is it up to him? I don't know. I don't think so.
But I do think it's an interesting point that Nagoshi brings up that like Nintendo has a fun and accessible racing game, which is Mario Kart, and maybe that's why like we haven't seen any more F-Zero for the past, man, it's probably been like 15 years at this point.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, if not more. Um but I mean like I don't know. I think like it makes sense that, and this is in the same episode when I was saying I couldn't play the the Crash Bandicoot kart racing game because it was just a little bit different from Mario Kart. But I feel like there's room, right, for a racing game with a little bit more of like a competitive or like hardcore edge to it. You and I are of course both core gamers, as demonstrated by our year in review
That's yeah,
emails.
undoubtedly. Yeah, I feel like with like a lot of these Nintendo franchises that have kind of just like fallen by the wayside, it's all just like opportunity cost. Like Nintendo is a large company, but it's
Yeah.
actually not like that large. Like as when it comes to like first party developers, and especially with like HD gaming and how much it makes, like how many people and how much effort it takes to make any game, like these smaller franchises, I just don't think there's like as much opportunity, like as much time for them to dedicate to all of them.
I do agree. I agree with that, but I also think that we are in a place right now where there are so many people who are like either newly or re-newly like invested in Nintendo sort of generically, and so like the introduction of a classic Nintendo IP is now suddenly like more relevant. That there are more people asking questions about like like Fire Emblem Three Houses was this big hit. Animal Crossing was this big hit, and obviously, the Breath of the Wild and Mario Kart and all that stuff. has brought in a bunch of people who have been sort of dormant for a while and are just sort of like, oh, these are the cool little nuggets from Nintendo past. Like, I think there's just a general excitement around uh the idea of a Nintendo franchise. It kind of doesn't matter which one it is. Bring back one that like the hardcore dorks can be excited about, and like the rest, everyone else will be like, oh, I'm interested in that.
Yeah, that's a great point. And also to hedge my own bets a little bit,
Mm,
I think one thing that we have seen with Nintendo more recently is like them willing to give these franchises to third parties to kind of like do with
totally.
what they will. And, Nintendo had done stuff like that in the past, but it feels like that there is more opportunity for that now. And so I wonder but they're very selective about those, like who it is that's going to do that. It seems like it's mostly people who they already have some sort of relationship with. And so I don't know who it would fit for like them to work on an F-Zero. I guess the answer is always retro, right?
I mean, or like Sega.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Um yeah, but if I were a betting man, which I of course am not, I would not count on a new F-Zero game anytime soon. Are you hurting for more information about Monster Hunter Rise? Well, we should expect to get more info about the game sometime this month, as teased in a video released by Monster Hunter developers Ryozo Sugimoto and Yasunori Ichinose.
This video is adorable. It is posted on Capcom's Twitter. There's not really too much new revealed here, other than they're saying that there is going to be more information about Monster Hunter Rise sometime this month that they're going to be releasing, and then they reiterated the release date of March 26th for Monster Hunter Rise, and then also mentioned that Monster Hunter Stories 2 is coming out this summer. Um, the video is also, it seems like they were heading out for the New Year's holiday, and they're like, guys, we gotta say something, we gotta communicate something. And so like these two producers like stood out in the lobby. One of them's wearing a coat, like he's clearly on his way out the door, and they're standing like 10 feet apart from each other in a single super wide shot. And they just say, hey, these games are still coming out, we're gonna have more information about them in January.
It's adorably amateurish.
Yeah, very, very, very charming. I don't really. It's a little bit of a weird thing to be like, hey, heads up, there's going to be a video sometime in January. It just it feels like they didn't have anything to announce in that moment, but did it anyway.
Weirdly, like March 26th is not that far away. So for
No, it's
like
really
a
not.
big release like Monster Hunter Rise, I feel like like the gears are gonna have to start grinding on the hype machine to get everybody ready for it. So I do think in the next, like 6 to 8 weeks we're gonna hear a ton about this game.
And yeah, I mean and there's supposedly a demo that's going to be coming out for it too. So like, likely a lot of that information will be coming out ahead of the demo or like right alongside it. I do think it's interesting. Uh, what was I gonna say? I thought it was interesting. Now I don't even remember it. You're right. I guess I was just gonna chime in that it is. You're right. March 26th is so soon. Um, just a little over 2 months away.
What does 2021 hold for Kirby and HAL Laboratories? Kirby director Shinya Kamizaki shared a comment with Famitsu regarding his ambitions for 2021. And Nintendo Everything, the website, translated it. In the translation, it says, though I can't talk about our next game yet, HAL actually turned 40 this year, meaning 2020. We're trying to figure out what people want to see from us and what our next challenge should be. There are many things a creator can strive toward, and they're all enjoyable. We'll take that feeling and tackle 2021 head on. Kirby turns 29 in 2021. While some fans enjoy our games and merch, we'll be hard at work. While some fans enjoy our games and merch, we'll be hard at work on the next project, and I suspect it'll be done before we know it. Please look forward to Kirby and everything else HAL has to offer in 2021.
Another real non-statement that we've been working on a Kirby thing and it'll come out sometime.
I guess Kirby like is in one form or another. We tend to get like something Kirby every year, but
Mhm.
I think we are due for a full-fledged Kirby title because I think it's been 3 years now since Star
Since
Allies.
Star Allies. Yeah, I think that's probably about right. But they supported Star Allies for a while, so
Mm-hmm.
um it wouldn't surprise me if this is another kind of Kirby battle royale. Four Kirby's are beating each other up, or four Kirby's are beating up something else. Um, it seems like such a weird application for that character, but it's a niche that like he's just sort of settled into.
Yeah, Kirby the Brawler. In a YouTube video published by Nintendo of America, the company revealed the best-selling indie games in 2020 on Switch in the United States. They are in seemingly no particular order: Hades, Streets of Rage 4, Spiritfarer, Moving Out, Ori and the Will of the Wisps, Carrion, What the Golf, Shantae and the Seven Sirens. Shantae, I feel like I
I
never
think it's
get that
Shantae,
right.
but I don't.
I
Yeah.
think that makes like so much sense. I don't know why I doubt it every time. Super Mega Baseball 3, Super Liminal, the Jackbox Party Pack 7, Sakuna of Rice and Ruin, Kentucky Route Zero TV Edition, Crosscode, Bloodstained Curse of the Moon 2, and Neon Abyss.
A lot of good or interesting games in there, and then of course Hades, a perfect video game. Look, I'm happy to see Hades featured on any kind of list, um, and just have the graphics of that game flashed in my direction. Makes me smile. But this made me want to like. There were a lot of these games that I expressed some amount of interest in when they came out, or as we were leading up to them, and just didn't like follow through on, like Streets of Rage 4, Spiritfarer, Ori. There are a lot of these games that I want to like really check out and put some time into. And maybe now that we're in this like kind of lull period of releases, might be a good time to go back and check some of these out.
Yeah, I really like the art style of Sakuna of Rice and Ruin, and I've like the impressions that I've read seem to be positive. I I picked up Spiritfarer when it was first released, and I played maybe like an hour or two of it, but I just wasn't like really connecting with it, and I think it was like I just wasn't in the mood for that type of game. I just wasn't ready for that experience. Like it wasn't in the mind space for it, and so I would like
You
to.
didn't need a cute game about death.
So that is one that I would like to return to and like give another shot when I'm like kind of like ready for that type of game. Amazon also revealed its top 10 best-selling games of 2020. There are two lists, one for the US and one for the UK. I'll just run through these real fast. So in the US, the number one best-selling game was Animal Crossing New Horizons, followed by Super Mario 3D All-Stars, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, Animal Crossing New Horizons. The digital version. So number one is the retail version, number five is the digital version.
God.
Cyberpunk
And that's
2077.
through Amazon. That's people buying the digital version of Animal
Yeah.
Crossing New Horizons through Amazon. Not just through the Nintendo store, but through Amazon.
Number 6 is Cyberpunk 2077, Ring Fit Adventure, Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity, The Last of Us Part 2, The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. So Amazon is definitely like Nintendo country when the retail and digital versions are outselling games like The Last of Us Part 2. I mean, Age of Calamity outsold The Last of Us Part 2 on Amazon.
I mean, I do wonder how much of Nintendo's game sales right now are just digital through their store. Like, it seems like it's got to be a lot, right? Um, but I mean, I guess that would be true of all of these games, right? Like, especially this year. Like I'm a big Last of Us, like Naughty Dog fan, and I bought Last of Us Part Two digitally, because like, what am I gonna go to a store? Why do I need a disc? So I don't know. These Amazon numbers are a weird metric for any of these things. And like every game platform is so specific, but like it is absolutely wild that Animal Crossing New Horizons retail and digital appear here as like two separate items in the top 5. It means it was just a monster success on Amazon.
And it's kind of interesting to compare to the UK list, which is not so Nintendo centric. I'll run through this one. Animal Crossing New Horizons, FIFA 21 for PS4, Minecraft for Switch, Super Mario 3D All Stars, FIFA 21 for Xbox One, Just Dance 2021 for Switch, The Last of Us Part 2, Cyberpunk 2077 on the PS4, and then Assassin's Creed Valhalla on Xbox One and on PS4. But even here, like Just Dance 2021 selling more than The Last of Us Part 2 on Amazon UK.
Yeah, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I wonder. No, I don't know. I can't make any more generalized statements about about the way these games sold based on these positions.
Yeah, like I think you're right. I don't think it really like tells us anything about their performances in general, but it's interesting to see the difference in the regions, and also just kind of crazy like Nintendo's dominance on Amazon specifically in like the United States.
Yep.
Modern
also just again, why are people buying Animal Crossing digitally for people on? I guess that's probably what it is. Is the digital Animal Crossing is gifting? That's got to be what it is.
Modern Gizhaza or Gizaha, yeah,
Gizaha
has discovered that in Street Fighter Alpha 2 on the Super Nintendo, secret boss Shin Akuma can actually be unlocked as a playable character in Versus mode. Now, mind you, this is a game that was originally released on the Super Nintendo, so this game has been out for a very long time, and seemingly nobody has discovered this. This person discovered it by like looking at the source code and then realizing that if you followed a certain set of steps, it was possible to unlock Shin Akuma as a playable character. Now, these are all like Shin Akuma means nothing to me. I've never played Street Fighter Alpha 2, so I'm hoping that you can shed a little bit of light on this, Patrick.
So Shin Akuma is, Shin Akuma is one of those like stupidly redundant character concepts, right? Because Akuma is already like the evil version of like Ken and Ryu. He is a Shoto warrior, throws Hadoukens and dragon punches and stuff, but he's like evil. He's like a demon of some kind. But Shin Akuma, or sometimes just called Oni, is like the devil version of this already evil character. And there's a like a history of all 3 of those characters, Ken, Ryu, and Akuma, having evil versions of them. There's Violent Ken is what evil Ken is called. I think evil Ryu is just evil Ryu. But yeah, so here's Shin Akuma. He's like a little bit faster, and his fireballs are weirder.
So here are the steps that you have to take in order to unlock him. You have to beat Alpha 2's arcade mode and then receive a new number 1 high score. Then you enter the initials KAJ when prompted to record the score. Then you head back to the title screen. At this point, you need a second controller, and the player 2 needs to hold down the L, X, Y, and start buttons all together on the start screen, while the first player navigates and selects the Versus mode. And then once the character select screen is loaded, either player can pick Shin Akuma by simply holding down start while choosing the character, and then Akuma's gray gi will turn purple at the stage select screen if the code was successful.
Mark, this is also specific. This feels like a playground rumor. Did you know you can actually play a Shin Akuma in Street Fighter Alpha 2? I don't know about this.
Well, that brings up a great thing that we haven't talked about for about 2 weeks at this point, and not to put you on the spot, because I definitely have not put in the effort, but do we know in Super Mario 35 if you can play as Luigi?
No, I don't know. I have.
Okay,
great. I have not put any more effort.
All I want to know.
No, great to hold my feet to the fire on that one though, because I believe I promised to figure it out. The game is still up there for another 2.5 months, so I'm pretty confident that I will forget about it by next week.
We're all rooting for you.
Thank you.
Finally, speedrunning marathon Awesome Games Done Quick kicked off on Sunday. It runs all week through the end of Saturday. It's a fundraiser for Prevent Cancer Foundation. Some upcoming runs of interest in Nintendo fans are today at 9 a.m. is a run of Metroid, and then at 1 p.m. Pacific time is Metroid, the original Metroid Prime. On Wednesday, Yoshi's Island is being speedrun at 5 p.m., Skyward Sword at 8:30 p.m., and then at 10:30 p.m., there's a Zelda Wand of Gamelon run if you meet like the bonus incentive for it. On Friday, there are lots of games, including Wario Land games in the morning. And then on Saturday, again, lots more. The speedrun ends with starting at like 4:45 with like a run of Nintendo games, including Link to the Past, Super Mario Brothers 35, speaking of which, Pokemon Blue, and then another bonus game at the end if the incentives are met, speedrun of Ocarina of Time. You should check out the full schedule, donate to the Prevent Cancer Foundation. I look forward to these every year. They're streaming it. They're like doing it remotely again. So the streamers are all in their different houses and the commentators as well. I watched a little bit of it today. It's a lot of fun, and looking forward to it for the rest of the week.
Yeah, I love how these things run the gamut too of like, and you can really get to like learn the specific lingo of like any percent or lowest possible percent. And there are just so many different ways that you can approach these games to play them differently, to totally break them or to not break them at all. It's really fascinating to see like what parameters are just obliterated for some games in which are like held very sacrosanct in other, or simply cannot be manipulated in other games. So yeah, this is super cool. Is there anything in particular that you're excited about from the games you called out?
I'd like to see Wand of Gamelon run. I don't know that I've ever seen like a live stream of that. No, I'd be interested in that. The Skyward Sword ones are always interesting to me to watch them be played with like a Wii mode with Wii Motion Plus. And I want to check out the Super Mario Brothers 35 one just to see what that is like. Like how do you do a speed run of like that sort of game?
Yeah, it doesn't seem possible, right? For anyone who's not familiar with the Legend of Zelda: The Wand of Gamelon, maybe it's not even called the Legend of Zelda, just Zelda: The Wand of Gamelon. It is a Philips CDI game using these Zelda characters, one of 3 of them that were made.
Mm-hmm.
And is just notoriously bad and has like voice acting and is like some kind of warped adventure game. That I don't think I've ever known any individual who's played any of those games.
No, I never knew anybody who owned a CDI. But if you aren't able to catch them live, don't worry. Like they show up on YouTube shortly after, which is how I end up watching most of them. But it's a lot of fun. If you've never seen it before, definitely check it out.
All right, Mark, let's get out of the news. Okay, that's going to do it for this episode of Nintendo Cartridge Society. Mark, it feels good to be back.
It does feel good to be back. Seamless, even.
Please remember to rate, review, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts. If you like the episode, you should share it on Facebook or Twitter or wherever you share stuff. We appreciate it when you do that. You can follow us on Twitter. I'm at Patrick_Ellers. Mark is at MKE Mitchell, and the show is at Nin Cart Society. We also have a Facebook page, which is just Nintendo Cartridge Society. Olivia Duncan made our logo. Our theme music is provided by 8-Bit Betty. You can get more of his music by going to 8bitbetty.com or by listening right now. For my co-host, Mark Mitchell, this is Patrick Ellers saying if they offered me the opportunity to play Daredevil, I would do it. I wouldn't object. Thanks for listening.
Ever wanted to hear from the neighbor at 9 Cloverfield Lane? Or what if I told you that Dr. Loomis's worst patient wasn't Michael Myers? I'm Adam Peacock, host of the podcast My Neighbors Are Dead. Join me each week as I talk to the lesser-known characters from your favorite horror films. Each week is an all-new, fully improvised journey into the unknown featuring friends and luminaries from the worlds of comedy, horror, and beyond.
New episodes every Tuesday on Campfire Media. Subscribe now on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen.
Campfire.